Hey everybody, it's Jasmine, and today I wanted to start a new series. Well, I don't know if we're starting a new series, but it's definitely a segment to a series that I already have on my channel called What's in My Makeup Collection. Now, I was requested to show you guys all of my Colourpop items, so I have a plethora of discontinued items as well as some new releases, and to be quite honest, this isn't a lot of makeup. I think it is actually a lot of makeup for one person, yeah, but I think compared to a lot of other crazy Colourpop videos that I've seen on the internet, this doesn't seem like that much. We're gonna go in no particular order. I'm just gonna grab what's in front of me. So the first one here is the Disney Tiana Bundle. And I got this on sale when I was in Hawaii visiting my best friend Sydney. And we found this at the Disney store. So I got this for $10 and I believe they had it for 30% off because I remember spending around $7 for this duo here. So, no, oh my God, no. No, Tiana. Oh, is it broken? Oh, God, that was so wild. My bang came out. Oh, take her away. She's okay. Okay, so this is a blush here. It's a beautiful muted pink. I do love these type of shades, and I like the idea of the princess bundles. I did want to get the Jasmine one, but quite honestly, I didn't see myself wearing the pink, and I honestly don't like pink lipstick at all. But speaking of lipstick, the Tiana one has this beautiful, like, burnt orange red, kind of similar to the tone of my shirt here. Really excited about this. I think this was such a great steal, beautiful find, and I am keeping it in the box. It's never been used, and it's definitely one of those items that I just want to collect as opposed to use. We're gonna be digging into some Colourpop archives. Now, if you have been a day one Colourpop fan, you guys have maybe remembered the 4-pan eyeshadow palettes that Colourpop had. The palettes were very similar to that of their eyelash cases. It was like this. It was very thick and bulky, and I don't believe they even had mirrors in the palette at the time. And for a quad, I believe it was around like $12 or $16. I think it kind of just depended on the shadows that were inside. Colourpop eyeshadow formulas, I think, are one of my personal favorites. I think they're easy to blend. I think they age really well. They're not like Anastasia eyeshadows where they get dry and crumbly. I think these ones stand the test of time for sure. So I have 3 here that I want to show you guys that I depotted into my Z palette here. Now we are going to look on this side of the palette. Let's cover half of this here, and then let's take off the bottom row. So this is what we're looking at. We're looking at 3 different palettes. So the first row here, that one is the Heavy Hitter palette. I don't have these names written on the Z palette, by the way. I kind of just have it memorized. It's truly ingrained into my head because I have always wanted anything from Colourpop, and this was one of the first Colourpop items I owned. The next row here is the Gemini by Night palette. A really nice, solid, neutral palette. Like, it's not warm, not cool, just in the middle there. And then that last one is the ILUVSARAHI collaboration, and that is the Saucy palette. The formula of these older eyeshadows are still the same eyeshadow formula that we see with Colourpop today. I don't think that they altered the formula at all, and I'm getting a phone call, hold on. Yeah, like I said, I feel like Colourpop formulas have not changed, and in fact, it still maintains one of the best, easy to blend, very pigmented eyeshadow formulas in my collection. You guys saw me holding up some of the Colourpop lashes. Now, I haven't tried a whole bunch of their lashes, to be quite honest, because every single time I'm on their website, they're all sold out. So the one style that I was able to snag up was the style Chick. Now, this one has moved around, so let me put it back for you. But the band on the Colourpop lashes, I feel like, are a medium thickness. They're not super light, but I think that they're thick enough to withstand tugging, you know, especially especially if you're tugging off the lash glue. It's not going to fall apart on you. These ones are fairly light. Let me get up close shot for you. They're fairly light. I feel like there's not a lot of volume. There is a lot of length, and I think that with the right look, this looks absolutely stunning. I feel like with these lashes in particular, I think they look really good with a look that really flares out, and that's more of a smoky effect. I think that with a cut crease, it can look nice, but I think it really complements a smoky eye perfectly. I have something that's still in the Colourpop old packaging. This is their no filter translucent powder. This stuff is actually one of my favorite powders, translucent powders, I should specify, because this one really does not give any flashback. It's very finely milled, and I feel like compared to a lot of other powders in my collection, this one just doesn't feel as heavy on the skin, and I think that's one of the reasons why I sometimes don't gravitate towards some of my translucent powders. I feel like I could just feel it, and I don't like that at all. But with this, I feel like it just is so lightweight and so airy, but it still sets in the makeup in place. The next item that I have here is a newer item. I think this is the newest Colourpop item that I own, and this is their Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Concealer. I own the shade Light 45W. This is probably one of my favorite concealers at the moment. I really love the shade. I love how yellow it is, and I think for the most part, concealers run more neutral pink, and I think that's mostly to correct the under eye area, but with the Colourpop line, I feel like the yellowness is still there, and I just love the way it brightens up my complexion. This is fairly light on me, but sometimes there are days when I just want a really super bright under eye. This formula compared to the original no filter concealer is so much better. I have gone through, I think, maybe 3 total of the no filter concealer, and I can genuinely say that although that formula is very thin and very lightweight, it does oxidize just a very little bit, and I also feel like you have to set it in place no matter what, or it'll crease like crazy. With this one, I don't always have to set it in place, but it is optional even though it has hyaluronic acid in it. I think that it is more moisturizing under the eyes, but it's also a little bit thicker in consistency, so I feel like the formula just lasts on the skin and it just adheres a lot better. So it's really amazing. Love this stuff so much, and I do actually want to do a video kind of like my ShopMissA videos where I do like a best and worst, a hits and misses of Colourpop. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. I'd be happy to film one for you guys. Colourpop has another item that's in a very similar packaging to their concealers, and that is their Luxe Velvet Lips. Now, I have this shade in Casual Dress, and to be quite honest, this formula is very reminiscent of the NYX Soft Matte Lip Creams, and at first I was very impressed by this. I was like, oh my god, I love this so much better than the NYX Soft Matte Lip Creams. But I think as somebody who just has really, really dry lips, I don't think that this is necessarily my favorite. I think when my lips are really, really dry, you could definitely see a ring inside my mouth. And it's not like, you know, just like the color is just like dried up. It's definitely like a lighter tone. So it looks like I just had like spit dried up, and it just doesn't look that great. I think the color is really nice, but I would have to have a really nice moisturized base before I apply this. So definitely not my favorite Colourpop lip product, but it is a really pretty shade, and I do see this kind of formula working on somebody else who doesn't have dry lips like me. Let's mosey on into some palettes. I know this is some of your guys' favorite part of the video. Now, my all-time favorite Colourpop palette, I don't want to hear it. I literally don't want to hear it from anyone because they discontinued it. And it pisses me off. Like every single time I just think about it, you know, maybe I'll go out for a drive and then sometimes I'm like, shit, they discontinued my favorite palette. I just get so angry. Like, it just really sucks. I hate it out here. But this is the You Had Me at Hello palette. And when I first got this and when I first reviewed it on my channel, I actually said, and I quote, that I didn't like this palette and I thought it was boring. But truth be told, I have hit major pan in this eyeshadow palette, these 2 nude shades in particular. I think that this palette creates just such nice, diverse looks. This palette has the perfect blend of neutrals and purples. And it may not look like that because the purples are very muted. I think that through and through, once you blend everything together, it just creates like the most beautiful smoky eye or cut crease that you could ever wish for. And not to be dramatic, but once this palette runs out and once I hit pan on like 5 shades, I think I might have to pass away. Also, before I forget, for all of these palettes, I have done countless makeup tutorials in which you can find them in my makeup tutorials playlist. I have a whole bunch of other different playlists that also feature these Colourpop palettes, but just thought I'd let you guys know just in case you wanted to see my many tutorials. Yes Please palette. This one is the most iconic warm tone palette. I have definitely hit pan on this shade up here. I think that through and through this palette just has done me so good. It's so dirty for a good reason, but I think the tones in here just suit everyone perfectly. I think that when Modern Renaissance and Morphe 350 was such a huge deal, and then this came out, this one literally knocked everybody's socks off because of its price. It's so affordable, and because there are more warm tone options in here, I felt like with the 350 you only got that one orange that kind of just threw everyone off, and that made everyone think that it was such a warm tone palette. And then you had the Modern Renaissance and everyone was like, oh my god, Venetian red, yes, warm tone. And then this came out and you're just like, oh my god, Sunset. Love her. Love the formula, like I've always mentioned with these Colourpop palettes. I think it's really buttery, really soft, and really smooth. The yellow in here is not patchy, and that's the reason why I gravitate back towards this for all of my yellow looks, essentially. Another one of my favorite palettes that I feel like I don't use too much nowadays is actually a peachy tone palette called the Sweet Top palette. Now I do have a whole collection review on my channel that I purchased. The lip products in this collection were too peachy for me, so I no longer have those. But the palette here is really beautiful. This still, she does look used. Not abused yet, but very used. And I can genuinely say that all of the shades in here are so beautiful, so perfect. I love how this is not only just a typical peach palette, but there are so many different formulas in here. You get the mattes, you get the shimmers, you get the metallics, and you get the glitters. You literally get everything and more, and it's just so amazing. So this is definitely a palette that I feel like is worth the money because you get so many different textures. We might have to declutter this palette because quite honestly, I don't really like it. And it is the I Think I Love You palette. I was so excited when I purchased this palette. I remember the day I purchased this, I drove to school so fast just to use the Wi-Fi right before my class started. And I had to purchase this palette right then and there, and I was able to get it, and I was super excited. But when I actually got it in the mail, I realized how neutral cool this palette was. And although this kind of has the color schemes that I look for in a palette, I personally look for a cream shade. I look for a really dark shade, so a black or a really dark brown or a really dark gray, or just some type of dark shade. And then I look for every other color in between. And although at first glance, yes, this does look like my perfect palette, it just has far too many shimmers to matte ratio, and I think that is the reason why that it completely just turned me off. The bronze shades are beautiful, they're really amazing, but I'm not the type of person who's gonna go into a palette just for a shimmer. Like, if I'm gonna go into a palette, I'm gonna use it all. So that's the reason why I feel like I might have to declutter this, because one, I don't use it, and two, it's just collecting dust. Let's talk about Miss Kathleen lights real quick. I love every single one of her collaborations. Like, man, she really knows what she's talking about. I really love her. So I have the Dream Street palette, and this was honestly no questions asked. Had to get her. I don't really use this palette quite often because when I think about this palette, I think of really warm reds, and then I also think of some really bright blues, and you know, sometimes I'm just not in the mood for either. So for that reason, I sometimes just don't use it, but I think for it being a collaboration, I have to have it, and it has to be kept in this collection. And I'm going to contradict myself because I know I said I love Miss Kathleen Lights, but I think this is going to be another palette that I have to declutter because I don't use it. I've used it literally like twice and that's about it. And that is the Zodiac palette. It still looks like it's in pristine condition. And I think the one reason why I don't use this is because I feel like the color scheme is very, very random. And although each color really goes well with the signs, I feel like I just have other palettes in my collection that I just get more inspired by, and that's going to transition me into another palette that really inspires me, and that's also by Kathleen Lights, and that is the So Jaded. I think that this is a far better version of the Zodiac palette and the Dream Street combined. I think that the color schemes in this palette just make more sense, and it makes me feel more invited to use different tones, and it's what I'm using on my eyes today. I also used just a bit of those transition shades from the You Had Met Hello, and then the rest is just solely this palette. So this here really speaks volumes to me, and I just think that for the most part this is like my all-time favorite palette. Like if we're talking about a big palette, this is definitely one that I'm going to include in general because it just looks good. There's different type of textures in here. I love it when you get more than just two textures. It's a good time. I feel bad because I think that this is another palette that I want to declutter. This is the Femme Rosa Karruche x Colourpop She palette, and I don't really use this a lot because of the shimmer to matte ratio. There's too many shimmers to the mattes, and like I said, I just would rather prefer mattes, to be quite honest. And I do have a lot of peachy tones in my collection. I would rather use the Sweet Talk palette than this. I would rather use the So Jaded than this. And I just feel like I've used it a couple of times. Has my makeup turned out absolutely bomb with this palette? Hell yeah, it has. But I don't think it really screams out to me. So for that reason, it might just have to go. Last but not least, let's talk about the Sailor Moon x Colourpop collaboration. I was lucky enough to have snagged this on launch day. This literally sold out within like a few seconds. I do have a full video where I reviewed everything, and I am just so incredibly grateful that I was able to purchase this on launch day. Like, it was just so crazy. I will never forget. I will never forget. So this is what the palette looks like. I definitely kept the box because I just have to remember the moment. And it has a beautiful shifty cover here. And this is what the palette looks like. I think truly out of all of the Colourpop formulas, I do think that this is the worst formula, to be quite honest. Even though I love Sailor Moon, even though I love Colourpop, I just have to say how it is because I feel like the glitter shade here, the Mare Serenitatis, is not that great. I think some of the colors are far too light for even my skin tone, and I'm a medium skin tone. So it does have a hard time showing up, but at the same time, it was something that I was looking forward to, and it might just stay in my collection as a collector's item, similar to the Disney collection. And then, like I said, I do have everything from the Sailor Moon collection. So if you want to see the swatches and if you want to see me use all of these on my face, highly recommend to check out that video because it was a long, in-depth, and pretty fun video. I do like a very low budget Sailor Moon cosplay, and I do already have a Sailor Moon cosplay video on my channel, so if you want to see that, there's that as well. But yeah, just thought I'd let you guys know I do have the whole collection. Didn't want anyone to have it, so I didn't sell it. It's mine. If you are loving the lip combination that I'm wearing here, I am wearing my favorite lip combo from Colourpop. Like, if I am going to wear a Colourpop lippie, you bet your ass it's gonna be this. Now, these are both in collaboration with ILUVSARAHI, Karen, and I love her so much. She is just so freaking beautiful. Like, I aspire to look like her. So I have her Curvii lip liner and her Sueno de Coco liquid lipstick. I think that this formula formula of the Ultra Matte Lip is actually really comfortable, super long wearing, and I don't feel like it dries out my lips. I like this way better than the satin lips, so I'm thinking that there is a reformula because I have tried the Ultra Matte lips in the past, like way in the past, and those ones were super dry, super sticky. This one has no sticky feeling. It's very velvety on the lips, and I don't feel my lips drying out throughout the day. Finally, to wrap up this video, we have some eyeliners. Now these ones are the Colourpop liquid liners, and I have a blue, red, pink, green, and yellow. My best friend Sydney gifted these what was it, for Christmas? Oh my god, was it that long ago? And honestly, these liners are really cute, especially when I'm looking for a pop of color. I think the only downside to this is that it's a felt tip, so I feel like the tip dries out really quick, and no matter how I store them, I feel like they still dry out on me. So that's the only con. I think the colors are really bright, vibrant, they're not streaky at all, so that's a pro, but I don't know, kind of depends how often you use colored liners. I love colored liners, so I'm gonna use these until they dry out and pass away. And just like that, everyone, we are completed with my full Colourpop collection video. I hope you guys all really enjoy. And like I said, I do want to do a video talking about some of the products from Colourpop that really did hit the mark for me and that I feel like is like my top 5. And then I also want to talk about some products that aren't really my cup of tea. So if you guys do want to see that, then definitely let me know. And if you guys love this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell to get notified of my Monday, Wednesday, and Friday uploads. As always, I love you guys all so much. I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye! Peace out, Girl Scouts.